Hey everybody,
Welcome to the future.
how are you? So tonight we want to see Paradise Lost. It was a great movie. In Spanish, it's called Escobar, and it tells the story uh, of Pablo Escobar. But the movie isn't really centered on Pablo Escobar, but more in this kid Nick. The premise of the movie is a couple of brothers that moved to Colombia, to Medellin, to do some sort of surfing camp. And then Nick falls in love with this beautiful girl called Maria. It's played by
Claudia Traisac.
beautiful, beautiful girl. And then he finds out that she's the niece of this drug lord called Pablo Escobar, and he's really famous and he's uh, loved by the people of Colombia. He helps the people, but all the money, the wealth he has, is because of drug, especially cocaine. It's a good movie. It's a thriller, and it's weird, when you have seen actors in other movies. For example,
The actor Nick is played by Josh Hutcherson, which is really weird to see him because we know him as Peter in the Hunger Games, and he does a great performance as this one. He's more adult, more grown up. He's more in because in the Hunger Games, it's mainly focused on kids fighting, and this one is he's more serious.
yeah. And this girl, Claudia
Traisac.
Traisac. I've never seen her before, but I'm sure gonna look for some of her movies, for some of her work. I find her really, really beautiful, really attractive, and I really like that the actors spoke really well Spanish. Well, the story is based on Colombia, and actually, when they spoke English, you could see that English wasn't their first language, for exception of these Canadian kids.
Yep, I noticed that too because one of the things I liked was the movie wasn't only in English, because there are those types of movies where they tell a story about somebody famous in a different country outside of the US or England or whatever, and it's all in English.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense, because if it's a German movie, it should be all in German. If it's Russian, all in Russian. But I like this one because in the beginning, and it starts all in Spanish, and you're like, oh, is it gonna be in Spanish? And then it switches quickly to English, and you're like, okay, it goes back and forth. you know that's pretty cool. It makes it more realistic. Well done on Benicio del Toro.
See.
The guy, he looks like all of those Latin American huge personas. Yeah, I really like his beard. Oh, that's pretty
Sí,
cool,
sí,
no?
sí.
So in the beginning, the movie starts with flashbacks from the future,
Yes.
and he's telling Nick about his plan, what he needs to do. Hide the drugs, and then afterwards kill the person. How he explains it. He makes it sound so normal. Like,
Yeah.
here's the gun. Make sure you're really close to his head, and you're sitting there thinking like, wow, how would I ever go through that? And he's explaining that all in English to him, which is cool. And then it says few years earlier, and you see Nick and his brother and his brother's girlfriend at the beach. They're doing their thing. They're surfers, and they're making a living on cutting wood and selling wood. And then he meets Maria, the local girl, one of the locals, and she helps around with the poor. No?
Beautiful girl.
Beautiful girl.
We see Maria, and she's the niece of Pablo Escobar, who I think was running for senator.
For senator,
And yeah, you can see the way that people loved him. And actually, you can. This is based on a true story, so you can read about everything he did. Most of the things you can find on the internet are like quotes, frases que él decía. Like sometimes I feel like I'm God, because if I say that somebody's gonna die, he dies that day. So that I can't imagine having that amount of power, and the money. and they show in the movie that he at the beginning he used that money to help, you know, the communities and the cities and other people.
Yeah, he's not only famous because of the huge amount of drugs and fame, but mostly because of him giving back to the community. He's like, this differentiates with other countries who have drug smuggling, like in Mexico. The drug smugglers don't give back. They keep it to themselves, and that's why Mexico is still sort of a third world country and it's corrupted and so on. But with Colombia, this guy gave back to the community, and that was pretty cool. I mean, still a bad guy, criminal,
Yes.
but giving back. And that's an important point, because this way he won the people.
Yes. People loved him.
People loved him. So by the time he would get arrested, they couldn't let him go. They would totally freak out and say, how could you take this man from us? He's done so much for us.
Yes. I can imagine if I was on the position that Nick was, you know, falling in love with this girl, and then you find out that she's part of this drug family, you know, and what would you do if you were in that position, Nick? What would you do?
Oh man, yeah, it's a tough one, because especially with Latin American families, being a family for them is number one. It's like they're so united. So to go behind their back and try to escape or you know, rat them out or something is super offensive, and yeah, they'll kill you. They'll kill you for that. So if I were in that situation, you know, I would play along. This is something you should do. You should play along, and then make the plans, you know, behind their back with your girlfriend and your brother. So you just play along, and then if out of the blue you say, hey, I'm just gonna go do this, I'll be right back, and you just disappear. And it's based on a true story, and Nick, the character, is Irish, not Canadian. In the movie he's Canadian.
Oh,
So
I didn't. No sabía eso. Music. What did you think? ¿Qué te pareció la música?
I didn't really pay attention so much to the music, because it was so intense and there was so much suspense and like a thriller effect that you're just sitting there and your heart's racing the entire time, because like, oh no, you know, this is gonna happen, this and this. We see Benicio del Toro's character, Pablo Escobar. In the beginning he looks like, oh, just a good guy, you know, which in the beginning, the first scene, you see him praying, and he says that he does this for his family, and you know, you can sympathize with that. You know, who doesn't do almost anything for their family? How far would you go for your family? So in the beginning, he's this nice guy. He's friendly to Nick. He welcomes into the family, and you start to like him. You know, he's one of those bad guys that you like.
Sí.
And that's the problem, you know. There are so many of them. They're horrible, you know, very, very bad. But you end up liking them. And you know, throughout the movie, Nick becomes sort of part of the family when he marries Maria, and Pablo trusts him more. And that's a little bit of a problem, because when they trust him more with stuff like of the business and secrets, then it's a lot more on Nick to carry around, because you can obviously see he has a good conscience of a mind. So whatever he sees, it's not right, and it's you can see it's really heavy on him.
Sí, como una transformación en su vida.
Yeah.
Al principio de la película vemos a Pablo Escobar, que le empieza a dar las instrucciones a Nick, a decirle, ¿sabes qué? Vas, llevas esta carga, y lo que tienes que hacer cuando termines con la persona, ya que ves que puedes regresar solo a la ciudad, lo matas. Asegúrate de dispararle bien en la cabeza. Y lo hice de una manera tan calmada, y el chavo todavía pues va con esta lucha. Y es peor cuando se desarrolla la película y te das cuenta que la persona a la que él tiene que matar es un niño, una persona de 15 años. Y lo peor es que en el camino él viene hablando con esta persona, y hay un tipo de conexión ahí. Y es un chavillo bien menso, porque lo tratan de ayudar y no
No lo entiendo.
es feo. Y al final de cuentas Nick se da cuenta que ha sido traicionado por su propia familia, por Pablo Escobar, alguien a quien él confiaba y estaba dispuesto a ayudar. Y se da cuenta que una vez que terminara el trabajo que le había mandado hacer, lo iba a matar. Entonces, es una muy buena película, la verdad. Si no la han visto, si no han tenido la oportunidad, vayan a verla. Recomendada, la verdad. Si le damos palomita a la película.
No heavy scenes, nothing graphic, not too much blood or anything. You don't actually see any of the harsh killings. You know, it's mainly just gunshots. The overall acting, Benicio del Toro did a really good job being the character he was, calm and serious and doing anything for the family, but always calm. And that's one thing I've noticed. When the bad guy is calm, he makes him look way more badass, no? Unlike if they're yelling or screaming, you know, this guy's crazy. But if it's somebody calm and he's talking like, and he's in control, you know, it makes him more scary, you know. Nick, played by Josh Hutcherson, his acting was good throughout the whole movie. For me, the moment where he really did well was when he called to check up on his brother. And his brother's girlfriend, Anne, answered the phone. And it turns out somebody was at their house pointing a gun at them. And then, you know, it turned out she couldn't do it. And then you just see Nick, and you can hear through the phone 2 gunshots, one for the girl and one for the baby. And I almost cried at that part because it's just so heavy, you know. It's like, you know, I probably understand the girl, but the baby part, you know.
Yeah.
First gunshot, woman's dead, you hear the baby crying. Second gunshot, no more voices, no more crying. And that's a heavy effect. That was pretty heavy. But he did a good job, you know, his reaction afterwards. And then the revenge, you know, the hitman that was meant to kill Nick, that goes out to look for him, it ends up killing him. And I like that. That was a good, you know, feeling of revenge. Even though it was quick, you know, like the bastard should have burned, you know, or something.
El final de la película está muy interesante. Él le había prometido a María que se iban a encontrar en una iglesia. Y todo esto, la película te lleva así del presente atrás con los flashbacks, ¿no? Entonces, cuando ya vas viendo todo y pones la historia, unes todas las piezas, te das cuenta que fue una buena historia, muy bien contada, muy bien contada. Y al final, pues el chico muere por las heridas, muere en una iglesia católica y sí es un poco triste la historia. No sé qué tan verídico sea esto, pero es una buena historia.
What I really liked was the ending scene, because it wasn't just going to end when he dies in the church. You know, it could have ended there and people would have said, okay, movie's over. But the next scene is you see him and Dylan walking through the jungle. It turned out to be them at the beginning. Both of them arriving at the beach, thinking, you know, we're going to make a future here. This is where we're going to be happy and raise a family. And you just see them hugging at the end and looking out, and it's like you have no idea what's still ahead. So it's a sad story, mainly for Nick and also for Maria, because, you know, the love of her life died, uncle, jail, most of the family probably also. So yeah, that's pretty tough.
Me gustó mucho que en el tema de la película, aunque tiene que ver con Pablo Escobar, no tratan de exaltar, ¿no? todo lo que él hizo, de que fue un narcotraficante famosísimo, todo, sino que te cuentan la historia. Por eso lo enfocan en Nick, cuentan la historia y de todos los efectos negativos que pudo llegar a tener, a diferencia de muchas otras películas que podemos ver acerca de gangsters o de pandillas o de narcotraficantes, donde exaltan todo lo que estas personas llegan a hacer. Así, la película me gustó mucho porque está chida. Vayan a verla. Si tienen la oportunidad, vayan a verla. Gracias por ver este video. Suscríbanse, compártanlo, rayenlo en las paredes.
Thanks for watching.
Sí, nos veremos en el futuro.
Alright, bye.
Hey everybody.
And welcome to the future.
So here we are, 1 week, another week. Okay.
Seriously? It's the intro.
We went to see Escobar in Spanish, and America was presented as Lost Paradise. ¿Qué?
It's Paradise Lost.
Maria.
A local girl, Maria, falls in love with her.
Beautiful girl.
Very beautiful.
Maria.
Maria.
She's hot, man.
And it turns out she is the the niece. She's the niece of
What a twist! Poor Nick.